There are currently 38 different units in Tower Defense Simulator, plus 6 golden variants and 2 staff and admin exclusive towers, for a total of 46 unique towers. And I want to try playing a solo game with literally every single one of them, from the towers you get upon joining the game, to the ones that take 20 hours to grind for. I structured this video to begin with the worst performing towers, and end with the runs that made it the furthest. So without further ado, the tower that performed the absolute worst is Farm. The issue with Farm is, it doesn't really do any damage. Money good, DPS bad. I mean, I did manage to get my money up a bit, but the zombies weren't really phased. I turned on auto skip, which automatically starts waves early, to get as far as possible, and I lost in wave 10. Next, there's actually a few other towers tied for last place. TDS has more support towers than just the Farm. There's also the DJ and Commander. Now DJ is pretty much the exact same as Farm. No way to deal damage, no way to slow or affect enemies, and I lost in wave 10 with it, albeit at a slightly different time, as I played on a ton of different maps throughout this, which makes it a bit less scientific, but I was going to be spending 2 days straight playing TDS. I didn't want to play 46 games on Honey Valley. Next, there's the Freezer. This tower gets memed on a lot, deservedly, because it does literally no damage, and its slowing effect isn't even good. I ended up making it one wave farther, with a ton of freezers as opposed to literally nothing. It just sucks so much. Commander, however, is a bit more interesting. This is another support tower, but it has a special ability, the Call of Arms. When using this ability, it buffs nearby towers, which I don't care about right now, but it also starts doing a bit of damage itself. It can only attack while using this ability, and it requires 2 expensive upgrades, but I did get one down, and it was decently strong, even allowing me to afford another. The 2 abilities let me make it just a bit further, ending on wave 13. Next, it's Ranger. This tower costs 8,500 coins to unlock. There's a fundamental clash between the Ranger's incredibly slow, powerful fire rate, and the hordes of 10 zombies with 4 health. It's just massive overkill. I only made it as far as Commander, wave 13. Next, the Demoman. This tower was honestly really strong. The crowd control was top tier, it was cheap, and it had decent single target damage. The problem? No hidden detection. You see, every game, these shadowy zombies spawn in waves 13 and 15, as well as a bunch later. And without a specific detection stat, your towers can't hurt them. So this run was arbitrarily cut short, as so would quite a few others. Here's a speed round of all the towers that lost here. Electroshocker has its lightning electricity chain ability, but it's much more of a support than DPS tower, and even if the hidden hand spawned, I don't think it could have gone very far, only reaching wave 15. Pursuit is the tower you get for reaching level 100, and it can't detect hiddens. I was actually able to kill a few by timing a wave skip well, so the explosive damage would hit them, but then next wave there are just too many, and they walked into the base on wave 16. Paintballer surprised me. It's the cheapest purchasable tower, yet its splash damage was mildly impressive, almost akin to Demo, but again, the hiddens, and I only made it to wave 17. Mortar. I like this tower a lot. It was one of my favorites back when it had the big scaffolding design, but in this game on Retro Zone, it really couldn't do much. You get it by now, another wave 17 finish. Sledger is the first of a rare sect of towers, the event towers, which you can only get for a very limited time, some of which have remained unattainable for 3 years, which is why I want to test them all. They have a massive range of ability. Some can make it to the final wave, and some are Sledger. I mean, its freezing effects allow for some high DPS, yet it can't detect hiddens. Thanks to fast skips, I ended on wave 18, a bit further than the others. Toxic Gunner, another event tower, was in virtually the same position. It's good until it isn't, and I lost in the exact same wave. Then there's the event towers I don't have. There's 3 of them specifically that I didn't get for various reasons. Fellow tedious YouTuber Souls agreed to help me solo these, or duo these, but given where this is located in the video, you can probably guess the results. Frost Blaster ended up performing the worst of the 3, as it had some very subpar DPS. It does get much stronger at later levels, but of course, the classic, no farm. Additionally, with 2 players in the game, Souls got even less money. He placed several and upgraded them to level 2, but no splash damage and limited freezing effects caused us to lose on wave 15. Next, there's the Commando. It had a bit of an advantage over Frost Blaster, as it had splash damage rockets, with honestly very pretty animations. I like these a lot. Although, it didn't have much damage from its laser guns. We ended up getting overwhelmed by the hiddens, which it couldn't detect. Wave 17 for the 17th time. Compared to some of the other towers coming up, these weren't as strong, but they definitely had way more style. And of course, thanks to Souls, he makes TDS videos and is a much better player than me. Check him out. Still, all these unobtainable towers struggling, but none near as rare as War Machine, given only to approved TDS staff members. Less than 100 people have it. But can it win on its own? I asked Thatcher for his help with this, a TDS administrator, developer, and memer. He brought the tower and we had to tank a lot of zombies. But once Thatcher finally had enough to place it, it chewed through the normals and the boss itself, with dual miniguns continuously firing, a rocket launcher, and a big smile on its face. Still, despite all this futuristic tech, it did not have hidden detection, and we could only make it as far as wave 17. I mean, Mecha Base is considered the stronger staff-only tower, so maybe later. Finally though, we're past the wave 17 barrier, and these results will start getting a bit more varied as the towers gain hidden detection. Medic kinda sucked here. I never realized how low his DPS was until this game. I mean, its gun doesn't even shoot. I autopiloted through the game and lost in wave 22. Then there was the Swarmer. This is a tower with some history of being used at the highest levels, and it definitely showed its resiliency here. This was the third tower me and Souls used, and it performed the strongest. Its crowd control was solid, look at this funny animation, and it had the beehive throw ability. The main problem was, of course, the hiddens. Thanks to Splash though, we did reach wave 22. Pyromancer is a tower I have a lot of respect for. Its flamethrower, in addition to being very clean, uses piercing damage, but since I was playing on multi-mode, the specialty zombies were fire resistant, and this tower's low damage became apparent when the slow boss spawned. It was more like water than fire, it did literally nothing. In the end, I made it to wave 24. Shotgunner meanwhile is a tower with an interesting weakness, fast zombies. Its piercing multi-shot weapon allowed it to shred slow moving bosses, but it really struggled against the fast moving shock zombies. I thought I'd lost here in wave 26, but I did tank that. Next wave though, even more spawned, and my last minute placements couldn't band-aid fix the problem. Reaching wave 27. Slasher is kinda like a worse version of the Gladiator. They're both event towers who use melee weapons and have a unique ability, except one has a lot more DPS than the other. In this game, Slasher just felt weak. This was also the last regular tower game I recorded, and I don't know if I was tired or what, but I somehow just let this slow boss slip through, doing nothing, and I randomly lost in wave 30. I was very nonplussed. If you like this video, please subscribe. This took a ridiculous amount of time to make. I had to die to these slow bosses like 20 times. Executioner. Darkest tower in TDS. It is expensive, and while I did get hidden detection, it's plagued with the ever popular splash damage effect. Good with crowds, bad with high health single target zombies. I ended up making it to wave 31. I came to realize there were a few barrier waves in multi-mode. The hiddens of wave 13 and 15 are the earliest, but the next is 31, where these 6 slow bosses spawn. These became run enders for several towers. Only the best of the best could make it past, such as the classic duo of Scout and Sniper, with surprisingly similar power levels, considering these are literally free starter towers which everyone gets. Scout is honestly kind of fun to use, mainly since you can just spam 40 of them, they're very cheap. But it has a hard upper limit on its potential damage output. I did reach wave 31, which I don't think is too bad a result. Likewise, Sniper has a bit of the opposite problem. Its DPS isn't bad, but you can only play so many of them, even if you pick a bit of a glitchy map like I did. And with this tower, I also reached wave 31. They're just BFFs for real. Hunter, another intermediate tower, somehow also reached this far, but I don't really care enough about Hunter to go through this game. Militant likewise. This is one of the more forgettable towers, kind of an uncomfortable medium between Minigunner and Soldier, and it also reached wave 32. Golden Pyromancer meanwhile is the first of the golden variants. There are 6 of these in total, and we won't be seeing the other 5 for quite a while, as Golden Pyromancer is the lone outlier which is more of a support tower, and the increase to its stats doesn't really change the gameplay. I guess it kind of just prolongs the inevitable. I had to place backups on backups on backups, and again hit wave 32. A result which was somehow outclassed by regular Soldier. I really do not like this tower much, but for a starter unit, its damage is solid. The speedy bosses were actually no trouble, with the problem being this horde of slow bosses. Despite their snail-like pace, they still blocked my progress from beyond wave 33. Actually a wave with a 6-way tie for results. There's Warden. The most enjoyable part of this run was just watching the funny little animations for the stunned zombies. I didn't actually know Warden could do this. This bumps it up at least 1 rank on the tier list. And I think I just played this one badly, honestly. Like, I got too many low level Wardens, and in order to beat the slow bosses in wave 31, I had to sell and move my towers, which did kill them, but then removed all my pressure of the front path, and I capped out anyways on 33. Minigunner is a very iconic tower, but the concept is pretty much just guy with a big gun. There's nothing that really helps this tower stand out or perform particularly well. The third tower to reach wave 33, it was just okay. Engineer is one of 2 hardcore towers, and is more expensive to obtain, building sentries to attack zombies. The run started off strong, but the slow bosses proved an ever-present challenge, and I got put in an awkward position where I had to replace an engineer to clean up, which meant I didn't like more engineer would provide, which blah blah blah, cope. Basically I just played bad, and reached wave 33, sorry engineer. Archer was another 33 holder, another event tower. Its DPS is very bad, but the arrows have piercing, which can out-multiply that number, and is the sole reason I made it to the 30s. Now this tower is supposed to have fire arrows, but that's currently kind of just glitched, they're just normal, they do nothing. That contributed to my downfall, along with mystery zombies randomly spawning 2 speed bosses. Turret, meanwhile, was on the opposite side of the technological advancement scale. By using the auto skip, I was able to afford this expensive tower by wave 8, and true to its description, it shredded the bosses for a while. I got a total of 5 of them down, upgraded them for hidden detection, but kinda hit a wall due to just how expensive these upgrades were. Like, why does this cost more than Accelerator? It's not as good. I got 1 speedy boss, but then the mystery spawned 2 more, and this was the final tower to reach wave 33. Next, here's the Crook Boss tower, and 4 fun facts about it. 1. Pretty good tower. 2. Can spawn bodyguards. 3. It's got some classy attire. 4. You can only place 4 of them. This tower started off strong, but by wave 28 I'd fully upgraded all of them, and could do literally nothing except watch. I moved the towers to stop the slow bosses, but it was only a temporary reprieve, making it a wave further. Cowboy is a top tier tower aesthetically, and has a unique trait, it can generate its own income. Unfortunately, this is offset by less than stellar stats. I placed 40 of them down, but even upgrading them, they struggled heavily against the slow boss hordes. Another wave 34 finish. Military Base is a funny tower. Rather than an attacking unit, it's a small outpost that spawns in friendly trucks and tanks. Although I could only place 5, they could hold their own in Molten, as they have high health which detracts from zombies they collide with, and could shoot from range. I mean, it does not look like it, but this tank is shooting that slow boss. The animations are just a bit glitched. However, this tower has another glitch. This is a breaker zombie. It currently has 30 HP. This is my $26,000 railgun tank, which has 1200 HP, and it dies in 1 hit to the breaker. I don't know why this glitch happens, it also occurred with Mecha Base, but it essentially made the mid-wave 30s completely impossible, as my strongest tanks just died to these dumb little guys. I ended up making it to wave 35, though that's somehow not even the peak for spawner towers. Then there's the Mecha Base. This tower kind of suns melee base, even in the name. It's another exclusive tower, even rarer than the previous War Machine, as only like 40 or so people have it. And I once again played with Thatcher to try to get a dub. The problem though, this is the most expensive tower in the game. We picked Honey Valley, what we assumed would give us the longest path, turned on auto skip, and pretty much just sat there and waited. As Thatcher said, this was very relaxing, but not as profitable. By wave 11, we were both still $1,000 short, and ran out of time. So yeah, Mecha Base only, wave 12, epic. Elf Camp is an event tower that's similar to Millie and Mecha Base. You spawn these little elves which go attack the zombies for you, using guns, snowballs, bombs, sleighs, and icy boulders. However, this tower has a hard cap of 2, which is crazy. I had both units entirely upgraded by wave 22, and with absolutely no further progression, would survive another 10 waves. When the horde of slow bosses spawned, this one warrior elf rushed to meet them, and tragically flopped over. But then, as they were further weakened, another warrior elf rushed over, and actually 1v1 the slow boss, MVP. This tower is great. I had another close call with the bosses in wave 36, but I could tell I was running out of gas here. And due to the elves getting pushed further and further back, I couldn't finish the job and reach the finale. Still, reaching wave 38 with only 2 towers placed down is quite the accomplishment. Finally, it's on to the big boys, the towers which could reach the final boss. Ace Pilot has been known for a while as a very high DPS tower, albeit one that's quite unreliable. They have mounted guns as well as bombs, but their range is constantly moving, which means you're only using that high DPS for a very limited time. I picked Forest Camp for a map, and the floor actually never loaded in game, which was funny. I played it pretty straightforward, just upgrading the tower, until I hit its placement limit of 10. The problem was the Molten boss. It can either stun your towers or summon its minions. In this case, the stun did nothing since my towers flew, while summon effectively gave it an extra 3500 health each time. The boss proceeded to stomp, summon, 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 summon again, 2 of them this time, a few stomps, and 1 more summon. This might be the worst luck I've ever had in this game. I lost with the boss having just under 30,000 health. Gladiator was the best performing event tower. The early waves were absolutely no problem. It was akin to Shotgunner, and it struggled with speedy zombies heavily, though it was comparatively more powerful. Unfortunately, the Molten boss has the exact qualities that ruin this tower. Single target, high health. Gladiator is a temporary damage buff ability and a stun block, but even with all that, the damage just wasn't consistent, due to the tiny range and the microscope. I ran out of money due to constantly moving the towers, and lost roughly 25,000 health. Rocketeer was semi-recently the benefactor of a buff, and that power increase really showed here. A lot of people didn't think this was a very good tower. When I asked my group, Rocketeer got trashed.
But you guys were wrong.
For one thing, it finally got hidden detection. I mean, if I made this video a year ago, it would have lost in wave 15. And its damage is generally solid. However, this is also the single longest run of any tower, as it just takes so long to kill zombies. I made it to the final wave, and opposed to the Ace Pilot game, I hoped for summons rather than stomps, and I'd say my luck was pretty average. This one Rocketeer got stunned 3 times in a row, which was a funny moment. I didn't have enough money to move the towers, and I ended up losing, although I did get the boss down to only 20,000 health. Very close. Next up, Accelerator. This is the second most expensive tower in the game. So I went to Honey Valley and used auto skip. I actually forgot to record the first half of this game, so I don't know exactly when I got this tower, but it definitely happened. Accelerator is Engineer's counterpart, being incredibly powerful, though somewhat inconsistent. When it deals a certain amount of damage, the gun gets too hot and needs a second to cool down. I mean, I hadn't really thought I could win, mainly due to that overcharged mechanic, but the raw strength of this tower's DPS carried heavily. When I reached it, this time the Molten Boss was the one getting cooked. With only 8 accelerators, I won the game. I guess showing that this tower is kinda worth the price, maybe? However, if you think this tower is pricey, it's nothing compared to the golden towers. Now, the Pyromancer did have a weak run, as I already showcased, but the rest, they did pretty good. Golden Scout is a classic for this challenge. Things did get a bit dicey on this map, as Breaker Hordes pushed almost out of range of the Golden Scouts. Yet, I eventually still got most of the 40 maxed out. The Molten Boss was annoying as always, but I won. Soldier, likewise, really excels with its golden buff. Like Scout, it's cheap to place and easy to spam. Unlike Scout, this run got very dangerous. I had to place 3 emergency soldiers to protect myself from breakers, but I did still succeed and get the dub. Golden Cowboy is a tower with which I've never had much confidence in my own abilities. I adopted a bit of a different strategy compared to the regular variant, focusing on getting more fully upgraded towers rather than spamming low level ones. On wave 33, I had to place backup towers, as mystery hordes kept spawning speedy and slow bosses. But I did just survive, and thanks to the massive amount of money being generated, was able to upgrade the towers much more towards the endgame. I reached the final wave, and things were very slow. I had to continuously sell and replace my towers just to have a chance to win. I got the Molten Boss to under 1,000 health, where he summoned and then stunned my towers, and a level 2 Cowboy on last targeting just barely took him out. Penultimately, there's a golden Minigunner. This is an expensive tower, so as always, I used auto skip early. I tried to balance maxing out some of these towers while also placing a bunch of lower level ones, a strategy which worked well enough, and then we reached the final wave. However, this was a nightmare. To save you the suffering I endured, after stuns, summons, moving towers, the Molten Boss had exactly 2,871 HP remaining, with which he walked into the base and killed me. I blame the map. Finally, the last tower, Golden Crook Boss, the only golden tower with a placement limit. Its stats and bodyguards are improved, but not that cap. Somehow, this tower almost won the game, thanks entirely to the golden bodyguards, which saved the run multiple times. But yeah, that one's not really winnable, as I fell a bit short and made it to wave 39. Not a level 100 funny moment. So that is every single tower in the game. You can definitely make it further with some of these, but I want to focus more on the general qualities of each tower, rather than trying to optimize each run as much as possible. I literally recorded 50 gigabytes of footage for this video. Please consider subscribing if you aren't. Leave a like, leave a comment. My voice is gone. Bye.